lost my retirement, my savings, my retirement from the military, from the government, everything. That was also a very abusive relationship.
Yeah.
I found myself in the same relationship that I didn't want to repeat as a child. I gave him whatever he wanted because I just wanted my freedom back. And that was one of the big reasons why I started my business, of being able to help other women come out of really awful relationships and life circumstances, feeling like they have no identity left, they have no voice left.
On this episode of Legends Made Podcast, my guest, Amanda Rose Krauss, joins us to talk about her life as a child, getting all the way up into being a CIA agent, going through trauma in life, creating amazing opportunities from that. This is one of the most amazing episodes I've been a part of because you get to hear what it is like to go through trauma and turn that into something beautiful. Here you go. Okay, so I'm gonna ask you a lot of like really tough hitting questions. What's your favorite color?
Pink now.
Pink? Did you notice we
white.
did the...
Yeah, the little light pink. I love it. I'm trying to get the Urus with some pink accents, but we'll see. It's really pretty right now.
Ridge, aren't you gonna wrap it pink?
If it wasn't a rare balloon color that Lamborghini does, we were gonna wrap it pink. But
It is a good looking car. Yeah. Is the cross on there because of your last name?
No, but that's a good play.
Yeah.
I'm just a Christian.
Yeah, okay. That's what he was just asking me right now. He's like, so it's a cross. I was like, oh, their last name.
Krauss. That's good. Yeah. I like that.
Close.
I just think if I cover it in prayer and protection, then I won't die driving it.
I didn't think about that. Yeah. Well, I should put lots of crosses on this thing.
Yeah, you should. I'll bring some for you next time.
I just tracked this. Have you guys tracked the R8?
We did. Yeah. I took Ridge to Washington at a track out there for his birthday last year as a surprise because we had gotten the R8 a couple months prior. And I also wanted him to have like a professional instructor teaching him like how to drive the R8 at high speeds and through difficult, obstacles and everything. And it was a lot of fun. It was sick.
Who drives it more, you or him?
Oh, well, once I got the Lamborghini, definitely him. I used to drive it. I used to beg him, can I take it to work? Can I take it to work? He's like, babe, the miles.
So when I bought this, my wife, we have a 911 4S. Nice. And when I bought it, it's literally like the color of the wall right there. Like it's just, my wife and I both love gray. It's like our colors, right?
Color.
Gray and blue.
Yeah.
And when I went to go buy this, she's like, what's your plans with the 911? I'm like, well, I don't know. Like I want to keep it. She's like, okay, we're keeping it. I'm like, why? She's like, I want to take it to get my nails done.
It's mine now.
Like, oh, okay. All right, fine. So we'll keep it. All right. So I got a crazy question for you. Okay. You've had a crazy, I would say crazy in the nicest way possible, like life, right? From beginning to where you are now. Yeah. What are you most proud of?
Oh, that's a great question. I think that considering all of like the trials and the tribulations that I had to go through and a lot of obstacles, a lot of people trying to, deter the path that I was trying to like forge for myself and set me back is probably just my like delusional sense of confidence that I developed along the way of no matter, what happens, I know that I can always restart or make a way for myself. Whereas like a lot of people who go through the challenges that I went through, not minimizing them by any means, I've just seen it, will fall into more of a victim or they'll let the voice of the world get in their head of constantly telling them that they're not good enough, they're not smart enough, they're not capable enough. And I probably am not smart enough or good enough or capable enough, but I never fully let myself adopt that mentality. And I just deeply rooted myself in the concept of like where there's a will, there's a way. And I just attribute a lot of the beautiful life that I have now into the mindset that I developed when I was younger. And I just don't think I would be here. I don't think I would honestly still be living had I not found a way to keep pushing through those things.
So what I found amazing, we were at the Christmas party at your house, and
the Krausmas party.
The Krausmas party? That's right. Krausmas party. My apologies.
Yeah.
What's funny is like your handle on our text group is a picture of you with like, tactical gear on,
Oh
right?
yeah,
But
yeah.
it's only your face.
Hmm.
And so we go to this Christmas party and I'm there and you look on the wall and it's you in all this tactical gear, holding an AR, great trigger control, by the way.
I'd hope so. Thank
And
you.
years of experience,
Yeah.
I'd imagine, and which we'll get to for sure. There's just a picture of you, like two pictures of you, and then you look at the diplomas on the wall, and it's there was one for I think it's January 20th. I read on there for
Oh,
the Capitol
yeah,
Police
yeah, presidential security.
presidential, right? And so
Hmm.
I'm watching you whisk around and do all the things at this Christmas party, dress flowing, hair flowing, helping people. And I'm like, does anybody not see this crazy badass on the wall? Like, am I the only one? Are we not going to acknowledge this? And finally somebody was like, okay, can you tell us about this?
Yeah.
Like you have lived, I mean, you've gone through a lot, but your story, I think, was what I was just, as we were sitting there talking, I'm like, are you crazy? So you start off, where did you start off in life?
Like, what was the beginning?
Yeah. Where did you grow
Um,
up?
I grew up in Long Island, New York,
Okay.
and I came from a very broken family, a very abusive home. My birth father left shortly after I was born, heavy into drugs and alcohol, and it's really unfortunate because right before my mom got pregnant with me, my dad was a very successful entrepreneur.
Really?
He started, I think when he was like 18, he started a few different businesses, and in their early 20s, he was doing very well. My understanding is we owned, or not we, but they owned multiple assets and a few different houses, and then he just got mixed up with the wrong people when he started making money and couldn't really get a handle on it. So, yeah, shortly after that, he disappeared and just kind of, I don't know, just let that consume his life, and he was never able to uh, get back on his feet from the drugs and alcohol. And then we were living on the streets and in and out of shelters, and my mom had this little car that we stayed in for a brief period of time. Um, and then she got a job at McDonald's. She got a job at a bar. I mean, I remember being really really little and just sleeping in the backseat of a car in a parking lot while she was bartending, just trying to make any bit of money to take care of us. And then she'd get off of work and we'd drive to McDonald's, and she had to open up McDonald's before McDonald's was 24 hours. And I'd sit in a little booth and she'd make me pancakes and give me like a little toy from the Happy Meal. And I would just sit there. And I was really young. I'm not entirely sure why I have vivid memories of my early childhood of like sitting in a booster chair and stuff, but I do. So, I my mom really tried her best to get us out of that situation, and that ultimately led to her meeting a man that was uh, just a very very awful person. And I think that she was so exhausted from being a single mother and just fighting tooth and nail to keep a roof over, any type of roof over our head, and feed me, um, that was probably safer than us being, homeless.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Shortly after they met, and we had bought an actual house. He was in an injury and he ended up breaking his back, and he was home all the time, and my mom had to go get another job, so she was never around, unfortunately, during majority of the rest of my childhood. Um, and I don't, apparently it was always in him because he had issues when he was younger.
Mm-hmm.
But he was very, very abusive, physically and sexually, and that was the brunt of my childhood. I didn't know anything outside of him. 6 years old, being flipped out of my little bed from his anger issues, and it was not a healthy environment
Mm-hmm.
for any child to grow up in. And I think that's really where, not even I think, I know that's where a lot of my mental fortitude came from. Just having to develop survival skills at an early age, listening for patterns, human behavior, disruption. You just never know when somebody who's extremely abusive and violent is going to flip a switch. He'd go from beating the daylights out of me to apologizing, and I'm so sorry, and let me love you. I didn't, I didn't mean it, and you get stuck in this psychological warfare. So listening to the footsteps, listening to the change in how somebody closes a door, how somebody walks into the house, how do they put their belongings down, the change of tone of voice. And I think that those are the things that probably gave me these skill sets later on in life of getting really obsessed with human behavior and understanding how people operate, how they move, and being able to predict patterns and interrogations and other things I got involved in.
Wow. It's wild to hear that. I mean, wow. To go from that to then you go into the CIA years later,
Yeah.
right? But it was those things you learned the hard way that kind of helped you set you up to have success there. And so, do you think that there's a lot of success in life that you find now because you're like, okay, I'm not making that mistake, I'm not doing that, or that you've learned because you were young?
Oh yeah. I mean, I've made a lot of mistakes in life in general, and when you're in that kind of environment for such a long time, there's absolutely nothing you can do right. And yeah, I mean, the lessons that I had to learn to survive are what gave me the, I don't know, the confidence to make the choice of I don't want to be a victim, like I want to be a survivor. I made an early on choice that this was not going to be the rest of my life. And there was one time, I've shared this with Ridge, where I ran away from home a lot. I just wanted to get out of the house as much as I could. I was terrified to be there all the time. And I was neglected. I mean, we didn't have a lot of food. There was a time where, like, I think I ate Tums because I was so hungry and I thought it was candy. But yeah, I was running away from home this one day, and I remember running out of the house, and I think I was 7 or 8, and I'm sprinting as fast as I can. And I just remember saying to myself, I'm going to make them sorry. Like, I'm going to make everybody who is mean to me and doesn't love me, I'm going to make them sorry. I'm going to make them wish that they were in my life. And it was like this moment where I realized, like, one day I'm going to have the choice to choose the people who are in my life and to choose my environment. And I just had to hang on long enough to get out of that environment. And then thankfully, it was 2001. It was September 9th, 2 days before September 11,
Oh, wow.
which was obviously really difficult growing up in New York. I sent my stepdad to jail, and I didn't know what I was telling them. I'd said something, and my mom was like, "What did you just say?" And we went to the police station, and I sat in one of those little rooms with the flickering lights and a detective, and it was awful. And they made me draw all these terrible pictures and show them with my hands all these different things to, I guess, discern whether or not I was telling the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And they went and they got a warrant immediately, and they arrested him. He knew it was coming. He drained the bank accounts, and
How
was
old were you at this time?
I was 9.
Wow.
And yeah, so they arrested him, and everybody thought I was lying. I lost all my friends in school.
No.
Parents didn't want their kids hanging out with me anymore because now I was the weird kid, and I didn't understand what I did wrong. I didn't understand why everybody hated me, and our neighbors thought I was lying. It was a really, really hard time. I felt very alone. So he had only ended up getting about a little over 2.5 months in jail. And I had a restraining order until I was 18 because the court said that the abuse had gone on for so long, and I
Mm-hmm.
didn't have journal entries, that they couldn't. It was like more so my word versus him, and he took a plea deal, so he mostly, admitted to everything. But the journal entries stuck with me for the rest of my life. It was like, document everything, write everything down, and one day, like, that might be your truth. And that in its own way became probably one of my toxic traits of like when I feel something, I have to like go write it down and journal it, arguments, fights. And I like developed this mentality that I needed to have a track record of like, look at all these things that you did. So the day that I come to you and I say I'm upset or I'm frustrated and you're like, well, what are you talking about? And I'm like, here, here's the list of everything, but also in my career, because I worked with a lot of shitty men. We can curse. Can we curse?
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I worked with a lot of shitty men, and it taught me an extreme level of like note taking skills and attention to detail.
Hmm.
Um, and I think that is one of the biggest lessons I learned in how I again study behavior of like learning people and what they do and how they do it. And then what am I going to do to protect myself from it after the fact?
That's wild. I mean, when we sat and talked that day, like you kind of briefly went over that, but to hear it in that detail that went on that long and at 9 years old, that shapes everything in your life. And if you think about it, like I see you as a very successful person. You may not see that all the time, right? Because most successful people don't understand their success at some level. But to hear the story of how you went from that at 9, right? Losing all your friends, losing everybody, nobody believed you,
Yeah.
right? And only having him in jail for 2 months.
Yeah.
That's
It was scary.
how did that work when he got out? I mean, he was only gone for 2 months, right?
Um, so things kind of took a little bit of a turn and yeah, he got out. I believe my reality that I remember very vividly was phone calls to the house, but nobody saying anything on the other line,
Mm.
just breathing. I remember seeing him outside my school. I remember a car, like this particular car following me multiple days a week, a car parking outside of the house at night, just sitting and watching. Um, and I was, I was very, very scared for a long time. A long time, I had a lot of issues sleeping, and I just lived in intense fear that he was going to come back and kill me because he would tell me all the time, if so help me God, if you say a word, like I will end you, I will kill you. Like that will be it. I will never give you the
Oh,
opportunity to speak a word again.
wow.
And I love my mother to death. We have a very good relationship now. You met her.
Yeah.
She's a peach. She's a gem. My
Yeah.
mom was very young too. She had me young, and she had gone through a lot, obviously through my
Yeah.
dad, and then everything that with my stepdad. So I don't blame her by any means. But she pretty much left right before I turned 13, and
Where did she go?
um, she started dating. She wanted to. I don't know. I think she was just broken and she didn't want to be alone forever. She had been with my dad very, very young, my sister's dad. So I have a half
Hmm.
sister. And she wanted companionship. She wanted somebody to spend her life with too. I think she was in a lot of denial about everything that happened. I think she probably took it harder than I did. And she's apologized many, many times for the way that things happen and why she did what she did. There's a lot of things she doesn't even remember.
Yeah.
Um, but when she left, I was in that house by myself, waking up to an empty house, going to sleep to an empty house. And
So she just left you at the house by yourself. Like you still
yeah.
had the house,
Mm-hmm.
but she was off with
Yeah.
new boyfriend.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And how long
Different
does that
man.
go on?
Pretty much through the rest of my teens. So she ended up marrying somebody who became my new stepdad towards like the end of high school, but she was gone with him all the time. And
And why didn't he come
he didn't
around?
know.
He didn't
He
know.
didn't know that
Oh,
much.
wow.
So yeah, it was hard, and I would try to talk to her. I'd write her letters. I would beg her to come home. And she was just very unhealed, very mentally sick, I think, at the
Yeah.
time of everything that had happened through her entire life.
Yeah.
Like she had my sister when she was 20, I think me when she was 25. So, and back then we didn't have the same resources and help and support that we do now. You're just kind of living in it. And the same thing, I mean, as much as I dealt with people not believing me, my mom also dealt with people not believing her and saying things like, oh,
Yeah.
she put her daughter up to it just to get money and take the house from him, which we got no
Yeah.
money. We were still very, very poor. So I don't 100% know what her reasons were, but I know it was very difficult, and there were a lot of sleepless nights because I would. So my first stepdad would stand outside my window at night and watch me through my window. And I remember if I'd like look over and I'd see him, and my heart would start pounding, and I would just physiologically like just freeze, right? That fight or flight. And I'd be so scared, and I'd be scared frozen. Honestly, thinking back to it makes me start shaking a little bit. Just remembering how that felt. I don't think back to that often. He would take the doorknob off my door so like, he could see in. And ever after he left, I couldn't sleep near windows. If I'd look out a window, I'd freak out just thinking I'm going to see him. Open doors and any exposure. And that stayed with me my entire life. So yeah, I lived in fear for a very long time that one day he would find me and he would want revenge.
Mm. So
That
was
never really
he
went
out
away.
like when he was watching you from outside the window, is that after he had this whole thing where he'd gone to jail for 2 months?
This was before he went to jail. This
Before,
was just
okay.
my upbringing
Okay, got it.
while he was around.
But that's still, I mean, that's
After he got
scary.
released from jail, I'm sure he was around. I'm sure
Yeah.
there were times, but I don't think anybody, when you're a pedophile and you go to jail, nobody really wants to go back to jail
Yeah.
in those environments. I did hear that they were not very nice to him when he was in jail. So kudos to whoever those men are.
Yes. Yeah. Uh, Probably not good people either, but
No,
yeah.
probably not. But
Yeah.
they did a little bit of good in their world.
Yeah. Wow. So you go through this, your mom's gone pretty much 13 to 18. You're by yourself, and then you go into the army?
Yeah. So when I was 12, I will say I don't know where it came from. I don't know if I saw a movie. I don't know what sparked it. I wanted to be a president. I wanted to be a lawyer. So
There's still time.
yeah, there is. So for a good amount of time, I knew I wanted to be a lawyer because I wanted to protect other little girls. I didn't have a voice. I had a public defender. I didn't have a good representation. That's why he didn't get a lot of time in jail either. And I think my brain was so focused around when I grow up, what can I do to help protect other people? I also had an odd sense of patriotism. My room was covered in American flags. Like I loved America. For my fifth grade talent show, I sang Lee Greenwood, God Bless the USA in old fatigues that one of my friends had. Like I just loved it. So
Here's a
it's
clip of that, by the way. No,
yeah,
just kidding.
I wish I had it. It's no surprise that I ended up joining the military
Right.
and the agency. So when I was 12, I had made this decision that I wanted to be a spy. Like I wanted to do really cool things, and I wanted to live a life of adventure and excitement, and be able to protect this country that I loved so much. And so through high school, at first, I did almost failed out of high school. I wasn't doing well at all. But I didn't have anybody to teach me discipline. I didn't know. I had no
Yeah.
idea what I was supposed to be doing, not doing. But I did know that if I ever wanted to work for the agency, that I couldn't do drugs. The internet it was still pretty new, and
Yeah.
when we like AOL, I think, and I remember Googling like how to be a spy, how to be an FBI agent, and whatever form of the internet we had at that time,
Yeah.
kind of pretty much was like you need to have a degree and you need to do all these things and not do all these things. So I'm like, okay, got it. So I locked in. Never did drugs, never got arrested, didn't get freaking pregnant, didn't do any of the things that could have derailed me. Every decision at that point, I was asking myself, is this going to get me closer to this career that I want or further away? It was like a game of chess.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that's what I was doing at the time. And so I took my anger, I had a lot of anger,
I bet.
and I channeled it into becoming the best version of myself possible, that I could never give other people a reason to say I wasn't smart enough, capable, or good enough for the opportunity.
Yeah.
I was failing out of high school in ninth grade, and by junior year I had straight A's. I was in AP classes. I became a triathlete. I was in music.
Who's getting you to events and who like
I was very resourceful. But there is somebody very important. Now I call him my adopted dad. He had been a family friend. No responsibility to me whatsoever. Not a parent, nothing. but he knew my stepdad and he knew my mom during that time. He was one person who did speak up and try to say something. And pretty much told my mom one day, like, if you're not going to change this environment for her, like, I can't stick around. I can't be a part of this anymore. And he left. Apparently, he went to West Virginia. When he found out that my stepdad went to jail, he called and he came back. He moved back to New York. And then when my mom pretty much left, he semi raised me to whatever capacity he could. What that would look like is, he'd call and check on me. He'd come over and pick me up and take me out with, local friends and take me bowling or to the movies or, to eat and just make sure I had whatever little bit of a childhood I could. Uh, I got a job. I started working and I'd, get off of work at 2 o'clock in the morning and I'd call my mom to see if she could pick me up and she couldn't. And I'd call him and he would get up out of bed and he'd come and he'd pick me up and he'd take me home. And I also had I say a boyfriend through high school. I don't know that we ever had like a boyfriend girlfriend relationship. I think he was really just like a best friend to me. He was a
Hmm.
little older and also didn't have a great family life. So I think we also trauma bonded. He drove, thank God, and he would pick me up and take me to school and take me to practice where he could. I had good other friends who had great parents who saw my circumstance and I think just had pity on me and would do their best to help. So I used to say for a long time, like, God abandoned me during that time of my life, and I was very angry at God, and looking back on it, I see all of the little pieces of people throughout those years that just kept helping me push further and further along and realize, like, God never left me. He was with me every step of the way through these people, and and if I didn't have those people and if it wasn't for him, I never would have made it. I became very suicidal, when I was 13, 14, and, I had a really bad episode, and, it was one friend who was in my, like, history class, and he sat behind me and would annoy the crap out of me all the time, but we became good friends, and I was in this episode, and I think he called or texted, whatever it was. I didn't respond maybe the way that I normally did. I'll never understand what happened or how it happened, but I was on the floor in my house alone, bawling my eyes out. I had a really bad conversation with my mother where she pretty much told me, you don't know what it's like to be abused and just minimized everything. And I was begging her to come home. Uh, and my friend Kevin, all of a sudden, I just remember his dad busting through my front door, and Kevin goes to my room and he packs me a bag, and his dad comes over and he scoops me up, literally just picks me up and carries me out to his truck. And I was like a zombie. I was frozen. I had nothing left in me. And they took me back to their house for like 2 weeks. And his mother, took care of me and took me to get my hair cut and they fed me and they got me to school. Uh, and they really saved me that night. And I look back at that and I'm like, that's how God showed up for me. And I'm so grateful for like those people who never gave up on me every step of the way. Like there's so many of them that I wish I could like go back to and meet and or see again in person and thank them. And I don't think they have any idea the influence that they had and the impact they had on my life. Teachers, just different coaches, different people along the way.
Wow. Wow. I mean, one thing we've talked about too is your faith in God, and I want to get to all the other stuff, but do you think, like, what was a turning point in life where you like were you always like had faith, or was there
Mm.
a certain time of life where you gave yourself to God and you like remember that time?
So it was a very love-hate relationship back and forth.
Mhm.
When I was really little, again, if you asked me what I wanted to grow up, I think when I was like 4, I said I wanted to be one of God's angels. That's not a job. I mean, I guess it could be, but probably don't want to take that route. And when my stepdad went to jail, is when I first started hating, like being angry at God. I
Mhm.
didn't understand, if God loved me, why did he let all these bad things happen?
Mhm.
And, didn't have the support to fully understand that. And then right before I joined the military, or sorry, I joined the military. It was a week before I was leaving for boot camp, and I was in a really bad car accident. Um, shouldn't have made sense. We shouldn't have walked away from it. It was wet outside early in the morning, and there's multiple people. And at the crash site, one of my friends found one of those $1 million bills, like the little pieces of
Hmm.
paper that talks about how Jesus gave his life for you and that your second chance at life,
Oh, wow.
like his
Yeah.
sacrifice. And it was in perfect condition. And I remember I'd come home from boot camp and was visiting friends and family, and he gave that to me. He said, "I never got a chance to give this to you before you left, but uh, but I wanted you to have this. I found it at the site where you crashed." And it wasn't wet, it wasn't ripped, it was like just gently placed there. And it didn't make any sense. And for whatever reason, I felt like in that moment, it was God like chasing after my heart, saying, like, the cops literally said, like, we should not have walked away from this. And I shipped out to boot camp a week later, still in a lot of pain, but I was like, I'm not gonna go.
Right.
Uh, and I kept that dollar bill, that $1 million bill, folded up in my ACU pocket of my fatigues, and a prayer that I had written down. And I had this one prayer, and I would say it every single night before I went to bed in my bunks. No matter how tired I was, I'd sit and I'd read this prayer, and I kept it with me all the time. And then I deployed, and I was just surrounded by Christians who I don't wanna say aren't real Christians. I think there's a difference between, like, being a believer and a follower and a Christian.
Hmm.
People who called themselves Christians, but they didn't live the life of a believer and a follower of Jesus. And I got really angry again. I was so tired of being around these people who acted like they were better than everybody else and talked about God and believed in it, but I would watch them do awful things. My deployment was one of the absolute worst years of my entire life. And I got angry again, and I didn't want to associate with these people. And I turned away from God again, and I started studying all these other religions. And for a few years I became Buddhist, and I just kind of tried to follow whatever felt comfortable for me. And I went to a lot of different churches. I did try. And then fast forward in my mid 20s, another really awful, circumstance happens, and that one was actually through my first, like, adult relationship. I didn't really date a whole lot, and he was a pastor's son,
Oh, no.
and, was pretty much like he was extremely toxic. It was wild. But anyway, we could talk about that another time. After he caught, like, his hooks in me, then he was like, "I can't really date you and be in a relationship with you, uh, unless you're a Christian." Meanwhile, he's jobless and living in my house, and I'm the one supporting him, and that's Christian, that's okay. So, he was like, "You need to get rid of all this Buddhism stuff and everything. You need to start following God." And I was so mentally unhealthy and wounded that I'm like, "Okay." So I started going to church, and I did. I started praying and reading the Bible again, and that was, I think, God pulling me back into him. It had nothing to do with that person. And at that point, so many things happened that I was so broken, and I was so desperate, and I was hurting so badly inside. I was like, God just seems to be the one thing that has never actually left me, like
Mm.
the one thing that I always go back to. And I had that moment of dropping on my knees and crying out and just surrendering to him with every ounce of my being that I had. And that was really the start of my true relationship with Jesus. And since then, I've never turned away. My relationship has just gotten stronger and stronger. And there's a lot of things that have happened where I'm like, I shouldn't be here. I literally shouldn't still be on earth, but somehow I am. And every time I look back and I'm like, that had to have been a God thing. Like, there's a
Mhm.
whole other podcast I did about this incident that I survived that didn't make any sense. And the only reason it makes sense is because of God.
What was that incident?
I was lost in the mountains overnight in really bad weather, and in an area that no one would have ever gone to look. And I had 100% towards the end come to the acceptance that I was never going to see my family again. Um, it's a long story on how things like ended up working out, but search and rescue and everybody said like we like this doesn't make sense. None of this makes sense, um yeah, I was found and brought home.
Were you, was this like in the army? Was this when you were in the
Oh no, this
CIA?
is civilian. This was like
Civil, okay.
3 years ago. Not even
Oh,
that
wow.
yeah, but I do think like the survival skills that I did have definitely helped. And uh yeah, I prayed a lot. I prayed a lot the entire time. And it was a weird thing with a pain. It was literally a matter of 6 to 10 seconds. If anything had changed between the 6 to 10-second window, like I'm not exaggerating, we would have been gone because the spot that I was found at, the it wasn't even the search and rescue. It was one of my old bosses that my mom called in the middle of the night, and she went into my computer and went through my contacts on my Mac, and she just remembered this name that I had said and called him and called him and called him, and finally he woke up, and he even said, like, "I don't know why I woke up. I just woke up and checked my phone, and I never checked my phone, and I saw these missed calls." And I got this call from your mother, and I called her back, and she's just like, "Amanda's missing. She's not home." Um, and he was like, "Okay, I'm getting dressed." And at first his wife was like, "What are you doing? Like it's a storm outside. You can't go to the mountains like this."
Mhm.
And he's like, "Okay." And he lays back down in bed. And then he looks to his wife and he says, "But what if that was our daughter?" Because they have kids. And she was like, "Damn it, get your ass up. You better go find her and bring her home." So he goes out and they're waiting until sunrise. And it was freezing cold and I was soaked. I took my socks off, my boots, like I was freezing. And I was on a side by side and I didn't have any gas left. And I don't know how I went as far as I did because the gas thing just kept blinking and blinking and blinking. And I was praying, I'm like, "Lord, I need like supernatural, like miraculous gas. Like I just need you to get me out of here." And we were so far off anywhere. It was heavy fog. I think that's what happened. We got lost, the fog. So the fog came in really, really quick. All technology went down. The GPS, the iPad died, everything. All the tech, like everything that I had as like my backups, somehow all of it stopped working and everything died.
Oh,
And
wow.
I'm sorry, but can I read a paper map? Yes. Did I think to bring a paper map? But when I was going an hour away from my home on a bright sunny day, no, didn't really occur. I was only going to be gone for a couple hours. So anyway, I get through this trail and I'm at a fork and I could go down and up. And I start going to the right and something says, "No, let me go to the left." I don't know why. And I stop there for 5 to 6 seconds while I'm just looking left and right because I don't know where I'm at. I'm just taking guesses at this point. And as I start turning the UTV to the left, my side by side to the left, the way I just came comes Kyle, my old boss. And I remember seeing somebody and I couldn't believe it. I like dropped and I'm like, "Who is it?" I'm waving them down and he comes up to me and it's him. But what's crazier is in the middle of the night, I'm with one of my friends and he's freaking out, rightfully so. And I just remember saying, "I'm not worried because someone's going to come looking for us. My mom is going to call Kyle, and Kyle grew up here. The Caldwell is like named after them. Like he knows these mountains like the back of his hand, and I know that they're going to come looking, and somehow like they're going to figure it out." And my friend, I'm just trying to like calm my friend down. And I said, and my mom knows that you have a dog at home because our dogs went to boarding together. So she's gonna send somebody to your house and your dog's gonna be fine. Like my brain just going through all the ways like we're gonna be
Yeah.
okay. And this side by side comes up next to us and I look and we both look and it's Kyle. And I'm like, "Holy crap." And I look at my friend, I'm like, "That's Kyle." He's like, "What?" And I'm like, "That's Kyle." He's like, "Kyle." So this is the whole thing is I've been saying it all night. Like I just knew. And, in that moment, side by side, we pretty much ran out of gas, and, had it been, you know, a minute even different, I was gonna go up the hill, he was going down, and he told us that the sheriffs and everybody searched a different side of the mountain, but they were all only gonna do 1 pass because the weather was too bad and it was too dangerous. 1 pass, if they didn't find us, they had to call it off. And he was going down the hill to check 1 spot, and then they were gonna leave. So had I gone up the hill, they would
He
have
wouldn't have
gone
seen you at
that.
all.
They never would have seen us. And had I not stopped and paused, we would have just missed each other.
Uh-huh.
And they never would have, it would have been days before they could have gotten anybody back out. And it was cold. It was the beginning of winter in Idaho. So it was snowy and wet. And but how they got the point why Kyle went to this spot and the
Mhm.
sheriffs and everybody else went somewhere else, because they were like, why are you going over here? That doesn't make any sense. Like, there's no way she could have gotten over there. Was somehow my mom had gotten a ping of my location the day prior, or like a couple hours when I had first ventured out um, at a location, and it had locked in her phone or something. But where we were found, we had never been.
Mhm.
Like, the ping that sent from, like, the tower of that location, I hadn't been there yet. We had just gotten there at the moment that we arrived. So she sent that to Kyle, and Kyle said, "Okay, I'll like, this doesn't make any sense, but I'll just go check and we'll just see." Um, the SOS feature, by the way, on your phone that's supposed to work in emergency situations also didn't work. We tried that a million times and got nothing. So no service, no anything. So yeah, the location, nothing ever updated, and they just got a random thing, a random location on the phone to go check, and that's where they ended up finding us. And they had to siphon gas in, and it was brutal. It was really, really tough. But it was one of the best lessons that I had learned in God's perfect timing, because had anything at all changed, any of the decisions I made, the pauses, the getting out, the checking, all of it, we would have missed each other by less than 10 seconds. Um, and that you just can't make that up. There's so many other small details to everything that happened that it is just undeniable.
Look, we've been at this for like 40 minutes. I still
There's
haven't got
so
to
much
ask you
stuff. I'm
one
so
question about the
sorry.
CIA. Like, can we do like four more of these? Rich, can we bring her back?
Part two.
We need a part two for sure. Wow. And I mean, think about it too. Like, I'm an Eagle Scout, and I probably would have not. Like, I've done all the backpacking. I probably would have had a map, but depending on the time of year, probably wouldn't have had a map either. So it's so easy to get in that situation.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And then all of those little things lined up perfect. Isn't it crazy how it's like, had I done this little thing differently, this would have
Mhm.
happened. And this is what I try to tell him. I have a 14-year-old son, well, turning 14. And I tell him, like, hey, all the little life lessons and things that you make small decisions now are going to make big decisions in the future.
Yeah.
I was like, look at I mean, I don't understand where I'm at success wise, but because I didn't grow up like super wealthy either, and like total different. Maybe we should do a whole podcast on me.
We should.
But I keep telling him like all the little small decisions in life are heaps of sand to the big pile,
Mhm.
and it's crazy. Like all the little small decisions in your life, Kyle being in your life, like
Yeah.
your mom knowing Kyle, like all those little things led to that moment where like it saved your life. And granted, yes, God was probably a lot of that, but it's all the small things that
Mhm.
make huge differences.
It's one of the best pieces when I say, like, I know it's cliche, but to hear, like, you are exactly where God wants you. Like,
Mhm,
in this very moment, this is exactly where he wants you. And his perfect timing and all of those little specks of sand, right?
mhm.
Are what leads you to that point. I mean, all of it. There's so many things I look back and I'm like, wow, if this hadn't happened, I wouldn't have gotten here. If all these other things hadn't happened, I wouldn't have met my amazing husband I have now. Like, the invisible string theory, I think, is such a real thing. But it's also a very beautiful thing. And if people can find like peace in the things that maybe don't go your way or are really hard and challenging, and you can look at it and say, it's really hard now, but I can't wait to see where it takes me, and I
Yeah.
can't wait to see what I'm able to make from this and turn this into in your life. And I think that also comes down to the person to have like the mental fortitude to want to build something for themselves, or again, like going back to like not being a victim and being a survivor through things. So yeah, there's a lot of it. And the same thing with like, I joined the military because one of my like first actual, I guess, boyfriends in high school was also an abusive prick, and he'd like leave bruises on my arms all the time because he was
Jeez.
so strong and like didn't know his own strength, and he was just an ass. And he would say like, "Oh, you're too much of a girly girl. You can't handle this and you can't handle that." And his dream was to go to West Point, and he couldn't for a medical issue. He could never join the military. So guess who joined the military to spite him?
Did you go to West Point too?
No,
Oh,
I didn't go become an officer. I
okay.
stayed the enlisted route, but I was 17. I was still a senior in high school. A recruiter called me on Tuesday, and I enlisted on Thursday and swore in. No, didn't look back. Had no idea really what I was doing or why I was doing it, but I just knew I wanted to do all of the things that were different. I didn't want to be
Mhm.
common. I wanted to be unique. I wanted to learn as many skills as I could that would make me an asset in any way possible. I joined the military. I went in military police. I was a firefighter. I have too many certifications and random stuff that I can't do anything with it, but it made me feel better that I was always doing something to improve myself, and I was always learning a new skill.
Yeah.
And then with the agency, I joined the agency, or the night I applied to the agency, I think I shared with you, was because I had a supervisor who was just very inappropriate and not a good leader. And we got into a fight one night over something, and I didn't agree with the things that he was asking. He would call me lazy, yet he would steal my work and pass it off as his own
Oh
because he
gosh.
wasn't performing. Put me down a lot. And that was after my deployment of also having
Where did you deploy to?
when I was 19, I went to Guantanamo Bay.
Oh wow.
And
Cuba. I hear
yeah.
it's nice this time of year.
Yeah, the weather's great. Lots of monsoons. But we were there during the 9/11 tribunals and a lot of other things. And I loved the military. It was so hard because I really, really thrived when I
Yeah.
had people who allowed me to thrive. But being a young, very ambitious, happy-go-lucky, like I still always wanted to see the best in people. Young woman, I was surrounded by men who just didn't want that to succeed and would, yeah, there's tons of stories there. But anyway, so I get into an argument one night with my boss, and he's like, "If you don't want to work for me, then go work for somebody else." I was like, "Fine, I will." Right? I'm in New York and 21 and sassy as heck. And again, the agency was still like the long term goal, but I thought I had to do and be all of these things for them to even consider me. Like
Yeah.
I had to have crazy skill sets, and I was always like trying to, again, learn something new. So I got on their website and I angry applied at like 10 o'clock at night. I filled out this entire application, and I'm not kidding. I'm pretty sure the majority of the answers I put to the questions were OPSEC, literally just 5 letters, which means like operational security. Sorry, I can't tell you. I didn't even answer a bunch of questions because I was still young and I didn't fully understand like what can you say and what can't you say.
Yeah.
But I knew my deployment was a lot of sensitive information that I
Yeah.
couldn't talk about and things in the military. So I just told the agency, I'm like, sorry, I can't tell you what I did. And I remember I submit this application, and what was really cool was on the application, it asks you, what are all your certifications? And I had a fuck ton. I was like, I did this, I got this one. Yeah, I'm a diver, and I got this random one over here, and none of this actually matters. I'm a firefighter. I'm actually a nationally certified firefighter, so that's cool. And like in New York, the one that I went through was the only one they actually had on the list that mattered. It's like I was pumped. I'm thinking like I'm killing it. So I submitted the application, and it just felt better. Like I didn't think I was going to get hired, but it made me feel like I was
Yeah.
doing something about my circumstances rather than like crying about them.
Right.
So yeah, it's time passes, and I printed out a calendar, and I taped it to my desk for everyone to see. And they tell you like you'll get a response back within X amount of days of something. And every day that passed by, I'm crossing it off, and it's like my little CIA countdown on my desk. My boss was so mad, but he was also giving me shit. He was like, "Why do you think they're gonna hire you?" Like all this stuff. And I'm like, whatever. And it's like towards the very end, and finally a few days past the deadline, and my heart's broken. I'm like,
Oh,
"Oh, they didn't call me. Oh my God." And I go back on and I check, and it said business days, and I was counting weekends. And I was like, there's still hope.
Yeah.
And I kid you not, like that last week, I get an email of a test I have to take online, like an aptitude test.
Hmm.
And it was the weirdest test I've ever taken in my life. I didn't make any sense. And I'm like, I'm not smart enough for any of this. So I take the test and then I'm still waiting. And then I get the call for an interview. And I was like, what? I get to, you want to interview me? And I fly to DC and I'm all nervous about my interview. My boss is pissed, and which was so great.
Yeah, F that guy.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I'm I'm there with a group of other people and they give you all the paperwork to fill out. It's so funny. I was so nervous. You see in like the movies where like people get so nervous they like forget their name when they like meet an attractive person or something.
Yeah.
I used to laugh at that. It's a real thing. I was so nervous. I'm filling out this information and I forgot my social security number. Most people might be like, well, that's normal. Who really remembers their social security number? But my social security number was the password to my government issued laptop that I used on a daily basis, like every day.
Yeah.
That's what I lived for years, was putting that in. So there's it should be muscle memory.
Yeah.
It's also on the back of your military ID card, which I had. And I pulled out staring at my ID card saying, I swear I thought my social security number was on it. And I was so flooded with nerves. I couldn't think straight. I couldn't see straight. And I couldn't find my social security number on my ID card. So I put it back in and I just wrote down whatever numbers I thought was the closest thing.
Were
And
you
I'm
right?
like, oh God, no, not even close. I fill in my paperwork. I give in my paperwork and they take you to like not orientation, but like a room where they kind of like lay out, hey, here's what's going to happen today.
Yeah.
And we're in a line and we keep walking back and forth down this hall. And again, military, like I was still young and very, very, which I have always respected my leaders. You walk by somebody, you give them the greeting of the day. Hello, sir. Good morning, sir. Good afternoon, sir. Hello. And we keep walking down this hall and it's me and like whatever, 30 other people. And there's this older gentleman in the hall every time we walk by, I see him and I can't help it. I'm like, hello, sir. Good afternoon, sir. Every time. Well, freaking when it comes time to the interviews, all these interviewers come out, they start calling people and everyone's getting up and going and I'm waiting to hear my name. And a lot of people had 2 interviewers and I finally hear my name and I'm looking through the crowd and it's that older gentleman that had been in the hall that I kept saying hello to all day. And I
Yeah.
was like, oh my God, he's going to think I'm like crazy. Why does she keep saying hi to me? And it's this guy that I get and I'm freaking losing it. And I go in this little room and it's literally like a box. It's a tiny, tiny little room. And there's one table and it's you and the person and then like this door and you're just crammed in there. He doesn't say a word. We sit down, I sit down and I'm just sitting there. And he's like, okay, Amanda, are you ready to begin? And I was like, yes, sir. And he has a folder and he opens my folder. And as soon as he opens the folder, in like a big tape, it has person's name and social security number right on top. And I see it and I'm like, and I panic because I'm like, that's my social security number. And I'm like, I'm not even kidding. I'm like all poised. And I look at him and I'm like, wait, stop. And he looks at me. He's like, what? I'm like, I'm not ready to begin. I have to tell you something and it's really embarrassing. And I know you're probably not going to hire me after this, but I just have to tell you anyway. And he's just staring at me. I'm like, I was so nervous when I came in here and I was filling in all that paperwork earlier, with HR and they like had all this stuff. And I was so nervous. I forgot my social security number and I wrote down a number that's not my social security number. But I promise you, I do know my social security number because it's my laptop. And I told him the same thing I just told you. And I type it in a million times a day. And I promise you, I do know it. Like, I'm not that stupid. And I took a deep breath and I'm like, okay, now I'm ready to begin. And he literally just like that, he looks at me and I just breathe and stare at him and he starts cracking up laughing. And I was like, why is he laughing at me? Oh my God, I'm so insecure.
Yeah.
And he's like, Amanda, can I tell you something? And I'm like, yes, sir. And he pulls out our agency badges and he shows me something on the back of it. And he's like, do you see this right here? He's like, I've been wearing this for over, maybe it was 25 years at the time, 30 years. He's been doing it for a long time, maybe like 25 at the time. Over 20 years, I've had this same exact badge with this on the back. He said, you know that this is our agency ID that we need for everything, everywhere, all the time? And I was like, okay. He's like, if you asked me what this said right now, I couldn't tell you. And I was like, oh, okay. He goes, you know what we call that? Job security. And I was like, oh, he's like, HR will fix it. That's why we hired them. I was like, okay, sounds good, sir. He's like, are you ready to begin now? And I was like, yes, sir. And then we start this interview. Couldn't tell you a single question he asked me past that. And I fly home and I cried. I went to the back of the plane. Thankfully, it wasn't super full. I sat in the very last seat in like the fetal position and I cried the entire flight home from DC to New York. I was so convinced that I was not getting hired. I ruined my dream job. Oh my God, my life is over. What am I gonna do? Um, and then they called me for the next round. And then you had to go through psych and mental health, and you had to do labs, and you have to do all these other crazy things. I had to take a polygraph. And then that was round two of feeling like my life was over, because they made me believe that, I was a terrible person. And I remember they kept telling me I was getting tripped up on this question of committing acts of terrorism against our country. And I was a ball. I was bawling my eyes out. And I remember like my person came in and they're like, Amanda, like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, you just keep lying on this question. And I'm like, I don't know how I could have committed acts of terrorism. I was in school, I was a triathlete, I won homecoming queen, and then I deployed, and now I'm here. When would I have had time to commit an act of terrorism against this country that I love? And if I did, wouldn't you know about it? And if you don't know about it, do I really want to work here? Like, literally, I lost it on this lady. And then she just stared at me and got up and walked out. And then somebody else came in and they're like, okay, you're dismissed, you're done. And then and then I left and again, cried the whole way home. I was like, oh my God, I blew it. They're never going to hire me. I just lost it. I just yelled at this person who's supposed to be doing like all my testing and stuff. I mean, I wasn't wrong. Like,
Yeah.
obviously I hadn't, but, yeah. And then, it was like a year process. And then finally I get the call. I got a letter in the mail, a big packet, and it's like your conditional offer of employment has all this information. And I was like, oh my God, they want to hire me. Why do they want to hire me? That's crazy, right? So later on, not too long after, but somewhere in the first year or two of starting, I met the guy who interviewed me, that old sweet gentleman
Yeah.
who calmed me down about my social security number. And he still to this day is a very good friend. And he goes, Amanda, it's so funny. I have to tell you, in all my years of doing this, you are the best interview I've ever had. And everybody who came after you, I asked them if they could live up to your standards. And I was like, what? I'm like, I didn't think you were going to hire me at all. That was terrible. He's like, your candidness and your ability to be that raw and honest is one of the things that set you apart. Like, you were just your authentic, real self. And I respected that and I appreciated it. And that's what we want here. We want people who are just going to be candid, raw, and honest. And then the weird aptitude test thing that we had to take, I say it's an aptitude test. I couldn't tell you what kind of test. Halfway through, I met with a career counselor and they were like, hey, did you ever get the results of that test that you took? And I was like, no, I have no idea. And I was like, I can see that. And he's like, yeah. He goes, in all the years I've been working here and doing this, I've never once seen somebody score 100% in a category, ever, no one. And I was like, oh, he's like, except you did. And I was like, what did I score 100 in? What are the categories? And he's like, ambition. You got 100% in ambition. And at first I'm like, is that something to be proud of? Like, I didn't fully understand. And then, come to learn and realize and think back on it, like, my ambition, my desire to just always keep pushing and keep moving and never let myself get stuck, right, in whatever the crappy circumstances were.
Yeah.
And to have the mentality of like, how much can I learn? How much can I do? How much more, right? I did. Nothing was ever good enough for me.
Yeah.
Is one of the reasons I also was very successful in my work and everything that I did. So that's a funny story, I guess. Embarrassing, but survived it. Yeah.
It's funny. We went through all of that. And the one thing that stuck out to me is you were a homecoming queen?
Yeah. I forgot about that part. Yes. By the end of high school, I got accepted into Penn State. I won homecoming queen. I got a scholarship to play sports at a few different universities, and I joined the military instead. I never went to college.
Wait, you got
And
accepted to Penn State
yeah.
full ride?
No. That was I had to pay for that one on
Oh
my
yeah.
own. But I had some sports scholarships.
What
So,
sport?
soccer and lacrosse.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it is really funny. And then I never did anything with that. And I joined the military and I loved it. And then at 22, the week I turned 23 is when I started full time at the agency. And my entire 20s and like young teens, right, from 17 to almost 30, all I knew was the military and the agency and carrying a gun and being very tactical and being in a very male dominated
Yeah.
field and world and having to survive. Like that survival mode as a kid never turned off. It was
Yeah.
always this constant like analyzing my surroundings and the people I was with and in my brain trying to stay a step ahead of everybody. But the things that I didn't realize were my threats were my threats.
Mm,
And that I didn't know how to balance. The harassment, the nasty, awful things that people would say about me, and just trying to bring me down as a person as much as they possibly could.
what kept you from? I mean, if you have all these people around trying to keep you down, how did you stay up?
I didn't always. It was really hard. I lost a lot of opportunities because of people. Like I had a supervisor lie and say that I had an issue with boundaries and crossing them sexually. And
Wow.
first of all, like that would never happen to begin with. I was very, very smart, thank God, about never being the woman who like slept around
Mm-hmm.
and especially like at work and in those environments. Um, so for that to come out at a later date was like it was that supervisor trying to get ahead of
Yeah.
themselves in case I filed a complaint.
Oh.
So things like that, things that were so far beyond my control. On my deployment, I had a girl lie and say that I pointed a loaded gun at her. And I got my gun taken away. I got put on restriction for 2 weeks. I got written up and it never happened. I didn't do it.
Why did she say
She was
that?
fucking the captain. Anyway, yeah,
Okay. Oh,
he
okay.
he got sent home and she
Yeah.
got somewhere else. I don't know. She was jealous. She was threatened. I never understood the concept of people like being jealous and threatened
Yeah.
over somebody, but I was just like going 100 miles an hour all of the time. Like again, my anger and my hurt and everything I channeled into my achievements. How much can I achieve? How much can I do being an overperformer where the rest of the world is just kind of chilling?
Yeah.
And I guess that made me a threat to people. So dealing with things that were so out of my control and I couldn't do anything about and it wasn't realistic at all. There wasn't a lot I could do there.
How'd you
And
deal with that?
I struggled a lot mentally.
Mm-hmm.
I struggled a lot with suicidal ideations and feeling like, what's the point? Like, why am I doing all this? What am I fighting for? It's always something new. If it's not this, as soon as I think I'm getting past something, it would be something else. I didn't have a lot of friends. I didn't have a lot of relationships. I just adopted like a kill them with kindness mentality, and I promised myself that I would never like stoop down to those people's level. Like as mean as they were to me, mean sounds so like I childish, but that's just an easy way to say it. As mean as they were to me, I would never be that to other people.
Mm-hmm.
And I would smile and be pleasant to them and make sure I did a good job. And I would never treat anybody differently. And I would never underperform in my role because of those people. And I had opportunities, like I really wanted to go for K9. And the hiring person was like, tell me who these people are that are doing this to you, and I'll make sure they never get hired here. And I didn't. I wouldn't. I wouldn't tattle. I wouldn't tell, because I always said I don't want to get anywhere in life and in my career because of how I bring other people down. If those
Mm-hmm.
people are going to fail, it's going to be because of what they did and their actions and or their lack of actions. But I
Yeah.
was not going to be the reason that somebody didn't get a job. If they didn't get a job, it's because they didn't earn it. And I always just believe that, in time true colors will show and truths will be revealed. And I don't have to do it. I don't have to say it, and just move quietly. So I did. And at the end of the day, you look back on a lot of that and I can pinpoint a lot of these different people and I see where their life is at and it's nowhere great. And
Yeah.
they're still, in a very miserable, unhappy um, circumstance and environment. And I look at myself and where I'm at and how beautiful and blessed and happy my life is. And I do think part of that is because I kept worrying about myself and I didn't worry about other people. And I just tried to stay focused on where I wanted my life to go and know that the only way I was going to get there is if I continued to build it.
Wow. There's so many other questions I want to ask you. It's like I could go so many ways, but um, so you're amazing, by the way.
Oh,
This is
thank
great.
you.
This is like when I started doing all this podcasting stuff, I just want to hear people's story and like hear how they got to where they are, right? And your story, if anybody is looking for a story to make them go, "Hey, I can get out of this situation and I can do better," like your story is
Thank you.
100% that. Like that's amazing. What is like future for you, right? So, just a quick step back. So you went tough childhood, into the army, in the CIA, and then after that, you started a business, right? A
Yeah.
tactical business. Okay.
Hmm.
Now you and Ridge are doing tons of fun stuff.
Yeah.
What does the future for you look like? Like, what are you looking forward to in the future?
Oh gosh, that's probably the $1 million question right there. Yeah, I loved my career. I stepped away from all of it for, the wrong reasons, but or maybe the right reasons. And
What was
I
that?
loved why?
Hmm.
Uh
So what was the career?
so the agency, right? All,
Agency.
all of
Okay.
that in the military. And I thought I was gonna die in the government and the career. Like that's just all I had to offer the world. Again, it was
Yeah.
just like how well can I do? My only value and worth came out of my career achievements. What can I accomplish? What can I accomplish for other people? And I never thought I'd have a family. I never thought I deserved marriage or kids. Um, probably because of my childhood, I didn't see a good example, and I didn't believe I was worthy of love. I didn't have love. I didn't know how to give love. I definitely didn't know how to receive love. I pushed people away. I didn't know how to let anybody. I didn't even know what it felt like to like miss somebody. I
Hmm.
almost was like, am I like sociopathic? Like, what's wrong with me? But really, I had so much love to give. It was just so deep down inside. So anyway, in the background, I loved business, and I knew if I ever couldn't do the career I was doing, it was going to be something in business. And I had all these ideas, and I got into, I hate calling it modeling, but like creative talent in the gun industry, creating really beautiful art
Yeah.
around companies and products that I loved. Those are the pictures that you see on the
Oh my
wall, right?
gosh.
Those
Yeah.
are some of my favorites. And I got a call to do a sick photo shoot with a really, really big company that was like, oh my gosh, this would be a dream if I could work with them one day. And they flew me out to Idaho. And on that trip, I met somebody. And at this time, I had a very beautiful relationship with God. And I had been praying. God had started working in my life of like, maybe you do want to be a wife. Maybe you do want a husband one day. And it was pretty new. I'd probably been feeling that for about 6 months, 6 to 8 months of this new feeling of like wanting to be
What
a
age is
wife.
that?
I was 28,
28. Okay.
27, 28,
Okay.
27, somewhere in there. And I was like, okay, maybe I do want this. So I started praying for my future husband. I
Hmm.
don't know what that meant, but I was doing it. So anyway, I'm on this photo shoot trip thing, and there's this guy there, and not interested, not even thinking about anything. But at the end of the trip, we all go out to dinner, and him and I happen to sit next to each other. And during on this trip, we start talking about God and his love for Jesus and my love for Jesus. And in DC, where I came from, nobody talks about God. Like we
Yeah.
don't get to get throw down with that. You don't talk about religion. And I was like, wow, this is so refreshing. Just like an average dude who just loves God. Like I'm over here with all these like GRS guys who are all like Navy SEALs and tactical and just bros. And yeah, so we start talking long distance, and he was a wolf in sheep's clothing,
Mm.
and this was at the beginning of COVID, and I had been up for an assignment that would have taken me away for a couple of years, and it was an assignment that I've been working towards for a while. It was
Oh
like a
wow.
dream assignment for me, but I had this little thing flashing in front of my face of like, oh, this nice relationship, and he was an Boise, Idaho, and a good family, and it was quiet and it was peaceful. And I had been living this very intense, high tempo, high stress lifestyle for a very long time.
Because you were undercover too in the CIA, right?
I can't we don't have undercover at the CIA, but
Okay, all
I
right.
worked for other
You were in the
departments
field, right?
throughout my career.
Yeah, okay.
Yep. And it was hard to obviously like date. You can't I go ghost for hours or days on end and people were like, "Oh, you're cheating on me." I'm like, "I'm not cheating on you. I'm just working. Like, grow up." Anyway, so again, vulnerable, I was in a bad place. A lot of crappy things were happening and I don't know. I just woke up one day and I said, I think I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna go to Idaho and I'm gonna give this relationship a chance. And God had really been moving me into more of that um, role of what it would look like to be a wife and to be the one to submit and surrender. And I got caught up in like the idea of it, and we hadn't even known each other that long. So anyway, I they let me leave for a year, leave without notice. They're like, "You're crazy. You're going to come back. Go do what you need to do in Idaho and then just call us when you're ready and
Hmm.
your job will be here," which I thought was really great. Like that was cool.
Yeah.
So I put in a leave of absence, got to Idaho, but everybody talked crap. It was bad. And my ego was very big at the time. It had to be to feel like I could hang with the guys. And so many people were like, "You're stupid. Why are you doing this?" Lots of things. So of course I get there, it sucks. Relationship sucks. He's a dick. I'm like, what did I do? But I can't go crawling back now because everyone's going to be like, ha ha, we
Yeah.
told you, look at this stupid girl who people already didn't like me for whatever reasons to begin with. And I had too much pride. I was like, I'm going to show them. So I doubled down and I'm like, this is great. Life is great. So I put an official notice to the agency and I said, I'm never coming back, which is stupid, but whatever. So, that's how I ended up in Idaho. And then not too long after that, he convinced me to get out of the military as well. And a month after I got out of the military, we weren't together anymore,
Oh,
and it was hard. That was also a very abusive relationship.
yeah.
I found myself in the same relationship that I didn't want to repeat as a child, and I was really embarrassed of it and I didn't know how to ask for help. I didn't think anyone would believe me because last time I tried to tell anybody what I was going through, they
Yeah.
didn't believe me. He was a cop, he's a police officer, so that also didn't help. Um, and guess what? After I left him, I lost a lot of friends because he's very charming and very calculated, and people don't believe me. And but that's okay because now he's like having an affair with a married woman and his life is a wreck. So like I said, and so we got married in secret at the courts. We were barely married a year, tried to get annulment. And my attorney was like, "We could take him to court for everything. I mean, you have all the evidence. Like you could go after his job, you can go after all this
Yeah.
stuff." And I said, "Nope. I'm going to move the way that I move and I'm going to let God handle it and I'm going to let the world handle it. I don't need to take all this stuff from him." He took half of everything I had,
Mm.
all my money, pretty much I had nothing at the end of it. I lost my retirement, my savings, my retirement from the military, from the government, everything. And I gave him whatever he wanted because I just wanted my freedom back. And then I moved forward. And that was one of the big reasons why I started my business
Hmm.
of being able to help other women come out of really awful relationships and life circumstances, feeling like they have no identity left, they have no voice left, they have no idea who they are, they don't know how to protect themselves. Single mothers who, were in a very abusive marriage or relationship, and now they're on their own for the first time and they're terrified. And I also couldn't resolve the fact that I had this career of all these skill sets and I was just going to do nothing with it.
Yeah.
Also, nobody would hire me. I don't know why. Maybe they see like CIA and all these things and they think that I can't be trusted, but I couldn't get a job anywhere.
Really?
So I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna do my own thing. I'm gonna start my own business and I'm gonna take everything I learned in my career and I'm gonna build a mission out of it. And I'm gonna train women and I'm gonna train people and I'm gonna educate them and I'm gonna make sure as best as I can what happened to me at all these stages of my life won't happen to these people.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, that was like the business side. And then now, through all of that, is how I met my now amazing husband, Ridge, and absolute best man I've ever known in my entire life. Um, And I decided again that I wanted to, not again, but I decided differently. Like I do, this was wrong the first time,
Hmm.
but this is right. I want to pursue my life as a wife with him. And my business was taking everything out of me.
Mm.
I was exhausted. I was drained. It was very unique and specialized. I couldn't run it on my own anymore. I was very sick. I was getting very sick. I had a lot of health complications over the years that were stacking up and piling that I wasn't able to address during my career and everything that had happened. And we made the decision that it would be better for me to take time away and just work on myself and heal and get back in therapy and heal my body. So I'm working on all of that now. So as far as what's next, I think that's the big question: is what will fulfill me and my energy and the way that my brain works, and the unique skill sets that I have in business, and be somewhere that I thrive and I love and I'm excited about. I love people. I love bringing people together. As much as I hated people, I really do just want to love people. I want to see the good in everybody. I love getting to build experiences and moments for people and communities that they wouldn't get, otherwise. Like just inviting people into our home for like a very simple, casual Christmas party is like the highlight for me. Getting to see these people light up and just love each other. So,
Yeah, then you had some weird dude with a like a Santa jacket and swim shorts show up.
yeah.
Yeah, that was me.
Yeah, the myriad of it,
Hey, I
it's
read
great.
I read the pool and I was like, how funny it'd be if I showed up in swim shorts, and apparently it was a more serious Christmas party. I was like, oh, I kind
You
of
totally could have
gauged
gone
this
in.
one
We
a
should have
little
thrown
wrong.
you in.
It was a great party though.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're
Yeah.
excited to have more. So, yeah, now I just get to, I get to work alongside my husband every day in our business. It's mostly Ridge's business, but he's so brilliant in the product of what he does that I get to come in on the back end and build the actual business side, and work more with, people and building the community of it. But I think that there's always going to be like there's something for me that I want to do, also on the side. I'm trying to figure out
Yeah.
what exactly that is. Yeah.
I mean, I want to bring you back because I do want to ask a ton more questions about the
Yeah.
CAA and the Army. Uh, it, we got sidetracked off of what I want to talk about because your
Sorry.
story is so amazing. Like, think about like I listen to your story and I think about how many women are probably going through things that they don't know how to get out of or move away from, or they're in a situation like where you were and they, you know, they do take the other way out of the situation, and it's an amazing story. So I'd love to have you come back and talk more about all that fun stuff and talk more about business and that. But one last question for you. For women that are going through any of these situations, like what's your best advice for them?
Mm. I think what was so hard being in it, where I had resolved that like this is going to be my life for the rest of my life. Like he wouldn't let me get a job. I didn't have my own money anymore. There was a lot of control. I just kept thinking, I don't know how am I going to make it 10 years? How am I going to keep doing this?
Hmm.
And you start to convince yourself that there is no hope and there aren't any other options. And especially when you have somebody very manipulative and gaslighting, they take away your voice and your ability to think for yourself and make decisions. And a lot of the women that I worked with who would share their stories would say things like, "Well, I've been out of work. I don't know how I'm going to make money. I have a child. How am I going to take care of my child? Where am I going to go? Who's going to hire me?" And unfortunately, that is a reality for a lot of women who are mothers who have been out of the workplace for a long time. It's exceptionally difficult for them to get jobs.
Hmm.
The saving grace was somewhere in me. I was able to dig deep. It was a big argument of just being told how much I suck at life, pretty much. And I finally was just like, you know what? You're right. Like, I am all of those things. Nothing is ever good enough for me, and I will always want more. Like whatever it was, I just started to believe my own truths and stop believing the lies that the rest of the world had told me for so long. And we now live in a country, for the most part, that has amazing resources for women and men,
Hmm.
anybody, veterans. domestic violence survivors. And it's just having enough confidence and faith in yourself to know that it's not going to be easy. Like when you leave, it's not going to be easy and you're probably going to struggle for a little while. But to have the confidence and the faith in yourself that, again, like where there is a will, there is a way. And we do live in a beautiful country with a lot of opportunities, and you can create and rebuild a life for yourself. I never thought I was going to own my own business, and I had no idea what I was doing when I started my business. Got a little tiny apartment. My mom had just moved to Idaho. I had her to take care of, and I was just trying to figure it out. Get out there, meet people, don't be afraid to ask for help, and just have the confidence and the faith to know that like there are opportunities and there you have a second chance after. The hardest thing is statistically most women who leave will go back at least 8 times
Whoa.
before they ever actually leave an abusive relationship or domestic violence for real. If they make it out, most of the time they just keep going back because they get out there and they realize the way that I would explain it is when you're in that type of environment where you're in fight or flight all the time, that home is your predictable. You start to study the person, you start to study their habits, you know when they're going to get angry, you know when they're going to have an episode, you know when things are going to get violent, right? And you learn how to move to that. So your environment becomes this very unpredictable level of predictableness. You don't know when it's going to happen, but when it does, you got a pretty good handle on what's going to happen.
Yeah.
When women and men, when people leave the environment and all of a sudden they're on their own, we move into a stage of unpredictable. They have no idea what's happening. Their
Mhm.
nervous system is so elevated, it's firing all the time. They're stuck in fight or flight and they lose the ability to have any discernment. They don't know how to make decisions for themselves because they were stuck in a very controlling world for so long where they weren't allowed to make decisions for themselves. So when you have unpredictable, what happens? Oh, well, this is safer and this is easier because I know this. Even though it's awful, I know this better than I know this. And you have to create the world for yourself of learning what is now predictable, what can I control, and how do I move around that?
Mhm.
So yeah, just for women to know that they can create a new life for themselves. And, if they need somebody to reach out to, they can call me. I've always opened myself up to any of my clients, and I've worked with a lot of women who have been in some of the craziest stories you could ever hear. And it's so sad and unfortunate. And sometimes all it takes is for somebody to say, I see you, I hear you, you're valid. This is not right what you're going through. That's what I needed. It just took one person to see me and say, yeah, we all think he's abusive and this isn't a healthy environment for you. And all of a sudden I was like, oh, thank God. Like I'm not crazy. It's not in my head because he keeps telling me I'm crazy and it's in my head.
Yeah.
So if you're somebody who knows somebody who might be in that kind of relationship or environment and you're afraid to say something. Be more afraid of the loss of that person's life than the loss of that potential friendship.
Hmm.
And I think that's what's hard is people won't say something because they don't want to stick their nose in someone's business or lose the friendship or make it awkward or uncomfortable. But it
Yeah.
was because I had one friend who said that she saw me and that was all I needed. So say something and validate that person's experience.
1925 Tequila. What's great about the mission with what they've done, one of the initiatives they have is empowering women in Mexico. So when people buy the tequila, we actually have an initiative that's empowering women in Mexico. And like I'm sitting here like this whole time realizing like, oh my God, we're talking about empowering women. And to equate those two, that we had the opportunity to sit here and talk and like, oh yeah, by the way, I am invested in something like that. Oh, are you ready to elevate your soul? Well, 1925 Tequila is the sponsor of this video, and their whole mission is to elevate the soul. If you haven't tried this tequila, it is one of the best tequilas I've actually ever tasted. Go to 1925tequila.com and you can actually order a bottle for yourself. Let's get back to the video.
You guys do a lot of great work.
Yeah. Well, look, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for coming. Ridge, thanks for allowing us to come over here. If people want to, if women or whoever want to reach out to you and ask questions about maybe the business or what's the best way for them to find you?
But unfortunately, I have a lot of very angry stalkers out there, and I get a lot of death threats. So I try to keep a little bit of
Oh, wow.
my personal stuff. But yeah, you can reach out to me through Instagram. Would probably be just the.
Yeah, thank you.
Sorry, I know you didn't get to ask me about aliens and
What?
stuff, but
Yeah, I did want to ask you about aliens. I didn't even know that was on the table until you were like, "Yeah, you can't ask me about
don't.
aliens." I was like,
Everyone
"I
always
didn't know
wants
I
to
could ask
ask
that
about
question."
aliens. I'm like, I don't know why. There's so many things you could ask me. That's what you go to.
When most people interview you, what are they asking you?
Most people are actually more interested in the toxicity of what it's like to be a woman in that
Hmm.
kind of environment and field. So I'm sharing more stories about the individual experiences of just the difficult things that I had to go through as a woman and the things that people
Yeah.
don't want to talk about or like are taboo to acknowledge and address. So yeah, that's normally where it stems. And then yeah, some people are like, "What did you do? What's the coolest mission you did?" and stuff like that. I'm like, we can't talk about that.
Yeah, but you told me about that one, so I can't
Yeah,
share it,
don't
but
tell
it was,
anybody.
I mean, this country wouldn't be here without her. I'm just saying that. So,
That's probably true. No, I'm just kidding. Someone's gonna be knocking on my door later at dinner.
yeah, like, oh, it's gonna be that old boss friend of yours. Like,
Yeah,
hey,
right.
yeah,
Probably.
yeah, awesome.
Yeah, I
Well,
showed them.
yeah. Thank you for joining this episode of Legends Made Podcast. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Shout out to Amanda for joining us on this. If you want her back, please just write in the comment section right now. Please. Number 2, I want to hear all about the CIA. And guess what? She said there are aliens. That's not what she said, I promise. All right. See you next episode.